Add another 50 ball to the list. Austin Reaves with a big night on Sunday night to close out the first week of fantasy basketball. We will be recapping that weekend here and tell you what is relevant for your Dynasty Fantasy Basketball League, because this is the Young Man Squad Fantasy Basketball Podcast, which is part of the Old Man Squad Sports Network, part of the Believe Network, and presented to you by our partners at FanDuel. I am your host, Noah Rubin. And we have 3 days of games to talk about today because this will be our first weekend recap. For the week recap on Friday, I'm going to try a different format, but we're going to stick with just going game by game in this one. Some players will talk about multiple times because they played multiple games, and I feel like it's worth talking about multiple times. But in the future, I think I'm going to try on Friday about just kind of taking the week of games as a whole, seeing how players performed and talking about players at a time instead of going game by game. Maybe we'll talk about less players, but have different data in front of it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. But for today, we're going to continue just to go through game by game, starting on Friday. And this first game we'll head to is the Bucks beating the Raptors 122-116. The Bucks didn't have Kevin Porter Jr., who missed their games this weekend. Haven't seen an updated timeline as to when exactly he'll be back, but he was not expected to be out that long, just kind of expected to miss this weekend. So he might be back for their next game. But taking a look at what happened here, Ryan Rollins got the start, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 steals, a block, and a 3 in almost 30 minutes. And then Cole Anthony also played extra minutes, or was able to be more productive with Kevin Porter Jr. not out there. He had 23 points, 4 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 2 3-pointers. Both guys stepped up. We'll take a look at their second game of the weekend here in a bit, but good to see both of them take advantage of the opportunity. I assume that when Kevin Porter Jr. is back, he's just going to go right back to a starting spot. Don't see how all three are able to stay fantasy relevant this season, but it is good to see Cole Anthony kind of get an opportunity after having an inconsistent role in Orlando. So hopefully he's able to continue to play well in that role. And then Ryan Rollins, could he potentially be a starter if needed? Yes, kind of see that here. Gary Trent Jr. has also been playing incredibly well, 20 points, 4 threes, 2 rebounds, 4 assists. And then obviously Giannis, absolutely insane, 31, 20, and 7, 2 threes, a block. He's going to be putting up crazy numbers this year. And then with Toronto, nice game for Brandon Ingram to lead the team in scoring. Kind of a mid game from Scotty Barnes. Not too much to take away from this game. We'll talk about them a little bit more with their second game here in a bit. The next game we've got is the Hawks against the Magic. Atlanta coming back to beat Orlando on the road without Kristaps Porzingis and without Zachary Risache. Nickeil Alexander-Walker filled in nicely as a starter in place of Risache, and Okongwu. Kind of a disappointing first half, was better in the second half. Not great on the glass, but 17 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists, a steal, 3 blocks. Trae Young was able to get something going late in that game to be able to have a nice scoring night despite more inefficient shooting. Dyson Daniels' offense has not really been there to start the season, which was kind of a fear of mine coming into it. I think I mentioned it at some point. I don't remember what show or what I was talking on, but where he played really well last year, but Jalen Johnson wasn't there. They added Porzingis. They added other talent. Like, does his usage just go down? Because he was still able to get 9 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, and a block, but he's not a great offensive player, not a great scorer, so they're not going to force feed him. So I still think Dyson's going to be good, especially with some of those other stats, but he may not be able to replicate scoring from last year. And then the big one here is Mo Gueye, who had 13 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, a block, and 2 threes off the bench. Jalen Johnson got in foul trouble, and so Gueye was able to play more minutes, and he took advantage of that opportunity. Played some good defense on Paolo Banchero there at the end. We'll talk about Gueye here for their next game as well, but good to see him playing well. And then for Orlando, it was a rough Paolo game. Wasn't really able to get much going offensively. But he bounced back somewhat in their next game, which we'll talk about or glance over at least. But he has all the talent in the world. It's just difficult to really have that translate to fantasy production until, honestly, like the buying into the analytics of not necessarily getting to the mid-range shot as much, or honestly, it was 0 for 5 from 3, but we want him shooting either threes or shots at the rim is the analytics approach. I'm not saying cut out the mid-ranges entirely, but there were some bad looks for him. But he's so good. So hopefully he's able to turn it around. Franz is hooping, playing incredibly well. Tristan da Silva was able to be a nice offensive reserve for them, at least in the first 2 games. Had 16 points, I believe, in the opener, and then 15 in this one, to go with 6 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 steals, 2 threes. So, I mean, they drafted him as an older rookie last year as a floor spacer, or a guy that can space the floor, and he's been pretty good, which is cool to see, even though there's not a ton of upside there. Moving on, what game do we have next? We're going to talk about the Knicks and the Celtics just briefly. Not a ton to take away from here. The main thing I wanted to point out was Hugo Gonzalez played 22 and a half minutes off the bench, 6 points, 4 rebounds, and assists, and 2 steals. Good defender. Not a ton that's notable from this game outside of that. I mean, Jaylen Brown led the team in scoring. Sam Hauser hit threes. Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, kind of rough offensive night. Anthony Simons, meh. Josh Minot didn't see the floor at all, but he played more in their next game, which we'll talk about. But Hugo was able to start in their next game, which we will also talk about later on. But decent performance off the bench from him. Nothing to write home about for fantasy, but it was good to see him get the opportunity. And then for the Knicks, yeah, nothing huge here. Josh Hart, 19 minutes, 14 rebounds. That was cool. Miles McBride got a start. Yeah, good to see that from them. Next up, let's talk about the Cavs game where they beat the Nets. The main thing for Cleveland here in this game, because obviously, Donovan Mitchell did his thing. Jared Allen was better than he was in the season opener. Sam Merrill hit threes. Jalen Tyson continued to start in this game with DeAndre Hunter out again. Hunter returned for the next game, which we'll talk about when we get to it. Craig Porter Jr., nice game off the bench, only 14 and a half minutes, 14 points, 2 boards, 2 assists, a steal, 2 threes, didn't miss a shot. Nice game from him. Always good to see those because we know he has a really high ceiling in Dynasty leagues if he ever gets the opportunity. So we just got to keep biding our time, try and buy low or get him as a stash if you can in your league. For the Nets, we'll get to Cam Thomas's 40-point game, but for this one, he had 33 points and he had 9 assists. So despite all the memes from his 40-point game where he had 0 assists, he can pass the ball. He's capable of that. Will he do it every night based on the 40-point game? No. But he's definitely capable of it. That's encouraging to do that against the Cavs, who are a really good team. And he was also able to do it at the same time that Michael Porter Jr. was hot. 31 points for him, 5 threes. So good to see them being productive together. One of the bright spots when most of the rookies aren't playing all that well in this game, which we're not going to focus on rookies again because this is not the rookie episode. We will have an entire episode dedicated to rookies coming up on Thursday. And then Zaire Williams, the former top 10 pick, 25 points, 6 threes off the bench. That's good to see. He'll continue to get an opportunity with Brooklyn this year. A good chance for him to prove that he belongs in the league, and not that that's in question, but that he deserves to be a borderline starter or a rotation piece elsewhere. But this is probably going to be the most consistent fantasy production out of him, unless he sticks around in Brooklyn and continues to stay with them through the rebuild, which could pay off. We will be keeping an eye on that. Let's see. Next up, the Heat absolutely destroyed the Grizzlies. So there's not a ton to take away from this game because the rotations were all wonky, but Bam Adebayo got really hot to start this game and then was ice cold in the second half. Both Khalil Ware and Nikola Jovic played well in this game. Ware 19-9, 1-1-1 with a 3 in 23 minutes. Jovic played 27 minutes, had 20 points, 6 rebounds, 4-1-1 with 3 threes. So still kind of a competition for minutes there. But again, we're not looking at Jovic getting more minutes just because it was a blowout. So none of the starters played their normal minutes. But Ware still has the edge for now. And we'll talk about their second game where both of them played bad. Jaime Jaquez, 17, 10, 6, and 2. He's not a consistent fantasy producer, but good to see him play well in this one. I mean, who didn't play super well for the Heat? Which, again, makes it hard to draw too many conclusions from this game. And then, yeah, things didn't go super well in Memphis. Not worth getting too into the weeds on this one because the rookies were the bright spots. So we won't get into that until we have our rookie episode. Let's see. The Pistons beat the Rockets. Not too many conclusions from that one. Nice Asar game. He hit a 3, shot 3 of them. That's worth keeping an eye on. For the Rockets, a lot of their guys struggled. Obviously, Kevin Durant still had an incredible game because he's freaking Kevin Durant. But a lot of the other exciting upside Dynasty guys really struggled in this game. I mean, Şengün shot 5 of 18. Jabari Smith shot 3 of 14. Amin Thompson 2 of 8. Reed Shepherd 3 of 11. So not the best game for them as a team. All right. Next game we've got this Victor Wembanyama guy is pretty good. They went to overtime with the Pelicans. The Spurs did. Won 120-116. And our partners at FanDuel currently have Victor Wembanyama in second, or having the second best odds to win most valuable player, MVP, not most improved. And he's also first for Defensive Player of the Year, which comes as no surprise. And that is, I mean, it's basically if he plays enough games, he's going to win that award. But he's also second for MVPs, right behind SGA. And I think that if there was as much confidence in the Spurs as there is in the Thunder to win as many games as they will, Wemby would probably have better odds. Because it's one thing to do what SGA is doing and you're winning 65 plus games versus the Spurs could win 45 to 50 games would be ideal, be a really good season for them. And where does that's going to end up being a debate. Because if the Spurs are making the playoffs and Wemby's doing what he's doing, it'd be pretty interesting. But what to talk about here? 29 points, 11 boards, 2 assists, a steal, and 9 blocks for Wemby. So 1 block shy of a triple-double. Fouled out in overtime, but the Spurs are still able to hold on to win. A nice offensive game from Devin Vassell, 23.6 threes. Stephon Castle, 16.6 boards, 6 assists, 3 threes, steal and a block, 10 turnovers. That's yikes. Not ideal. But aside from the massive amounts of turnovers, fine game for him. But obviously it's hard to say that it was still a fine game because the 10 turnovers kind of ruined anything, but that's not going to happen often. Luke Cornett is also worth talking about here. At 14 points, 12 boards, 4 assists, and a block. And this is my double big lineup take, is that not every team can just do it with 2 centers. You can't. Wemby is a dynamic enough center that he's able to play power forward while Cornett plays center. That's where the double big lineups work. That's why it works in OKC with Chet. That's why it works to an extent in Houston with Alperen Şengün. That's the one I have trouble with because both of them are good passers. I just feel like the defense doesn't always work super well with them, but they have enough other really high-level defenders to help out. So sure. Cleveland, it works because Evan Mobley can play basically power forward. That's what he has been doing. So it takes a certain two big men for it to work. And it worked in San Antonio in this game with Wemby playing next to Luke Cornett. So interesting to keep an eye on. For the Pelicans, a nice Zion game. And the field goal percentage is a little bit low, but if you're shooting all your shots at the rim and Victor Wembanyama's at the rim, you're probably not going to shoot your normal shooting percentage. Trey Murphy, good game. Jordan Poole, Herb Jones, rough on offense, but, he's there to play defense. This was also the Sadiq Bey start with them down every other center option, but we'll talk about Derek Queen playing pretty well in this matchup in a future episode. All right. Let's move on to talking about the Wizards-Mavs game. Keyshawn George, the highlight here. 34 points, 11 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 7 threes. He had 5 turnovers, but this dude is going to be a fantasy star. The game after this wasn't as good, but frankly, having a game like this against Dallas, who's, despite they started 0-2, and they lost to Washington, but that's a good team, and they have good defenders, and Keyshawn George did this. So very, very impressed by him, and I'll add the disclaimer one more time, and hopefully I don't feel the need to keep adding it, but I wasn't very high on him in his draft class. During his rookie year, I became a fan, and now I'm all in on Keyshawn George. So I was wrong at first, but I'm happy to admit that to be allowed onto this bandwagon. For Dallas, not a ton to take away here, other than we'll talk about Cooper Flagg in the future. That's really the main thing. PJ Washington had 8 turnovers. That kind of sticks out. Derek Lively, wasn't even in foul trouble. I guess that's worth talking about. And we'll talk about it with their next game as well. Just not getting the minutes that he should. It's frustrating. Don't know why that's happening the way it is. They're happy to play Anthony Davis at center. And cool. Yeah, that's what it is. Frustrating because Derek Lively is really good. Then we had, before he got hurt, Luka Doncic, absolute masterclass against Minnesota. Anthony Edwards had 31 in that game, but Luka had 49, 11, and 8, 16 of 19 free throws, 5 threes. Started the season with 2 40-point games. He's on a revenge tour. Now he's going to miss at least a week. And we'll talk about what happened with Austin Reaves in that first game without him. But Reaves, even with Luka playing the way he did, 25 points, 7 rebounds, 11 assists, really hot start to the season from Reaves. He is really, really good. I am curious about the level of production that he's able to maintain when LeBron is healthy. But long term, if they're going to just say LeBron, this is his last year, or say he plays 2 more years after that, if it's Austin Reaves and Luka Doncic, they're both going to be really good. So not too concerned. That's, I guess, the Dynasty takeaway here is that Austin Reaves is going to be just fine. Nice game from Rui Hachimura as well. Still questions about DeAndre Ayton. But it's what they got right now. So we'll see if they're able to address it at the trade deadline. Portland beat the Warriors by 20. Jonathan Kuminga has been solid to start this season. Definitely doing a good bit to help his long-term value. Could potentially be getting a nice deal to stay in. Let me just feel like I'm going crazy now. It was just a 1-year deal that he signed. No, it was a 2-year deal. Okay. If he, I guess he could be around past that 2-year deal. Steph Curry, still Steph Curry. In Portland, Denny Avdia playing phenomenal, the level that we were kind of hoping to see this year. Tumani Kamara also playing at a high level. Shout out to Chris Murray. Shot 6 of 7 in this game. Had 13 points off the bench. Solid game. Should be a solid rotation piece this year. Shaedon Sharpe's his field goal percentage has been kind of rough, or his just efficiency in general has been kind of rough to start this season. He is incredibly talented, so I'd be shocked if he wasn't able to get things going. But just to start the year, it has been rough, which is a little frustrating. But it's not a reason to trade him. He's very talented, so don't make the wrong decision there. Kings beat the Jazz by a point. Lauri Markkanen, 33 points. I was saying it all summer. They're going to emphasize him early on to just get his trade value back up. Before they decide if they're going to trade him or not, they need to get the trade value back up. He's been playing really well. Walker Kessler did not repeat his masterclass from opening night. Didn't shoot any threes. 6 turnovers. He's still going to be just fine, but he's all of a sudden not a lethal shooter. Ace Bailey's, well, we're not talking about rookies. Still didn't play a ton. Taylor Hendricks played less, didn't do as much. This is getting frustrating. And I think when we talk about their other game from this weekend, we're going to see the same thing where he just isn't on the floor enough. Yeah, frustrating. I think he should be playing more. But I think this might be a good opportunity to buy low on him. I had him as a late round flyer with plenty of upside in redraft leagues. I think you could be seeing people that have been holding on after he missed all last season, and now just seeing him not get many minutes and be frustrated could be a good opportunity to trade for Taylor Hendricks. In Sacramento, not as many dynasty takeaways. Good game from Malik Monk. Zach LaVine's been incredible to start this season, which we'll talk about a little bit more in their next game. Still no minutes for Devin Carter, and Keon Ellis only a small role off the bench, though he does get a start in their next game on Sunday. I'm talking about it like it's in the future because we're talking about the Friday games, but now we will move on to talking about the Saturday games. Let us start with, as I'm pulling this up, let's start with the Bulls Magic. Also, the Clippers beat the Suns on Friday night, but not too many dynasty takeaways from that one. But we will talk about the Suns in a future game. Let's see. Modest Buzelis got in foul trouble on Saturday. Didn't really get to do a ton. Patrick Williams played well with Modest not able to play a lot, which was cool to see, but not really too excited about Patrick Williams by any means. For Orlando, like I said, Paolo bounced back a little bit. Jalen Suggs sat out the second night of a back-to-back, which they've been managing his minutes when he is available. Tyus Jones started, but didn't play super well in 14 and a half minutes. Anthony Black played 30 minutes off the bench, 19 points, 5 boards, an assist, a steal, a block, 3, 5 turnovers. Don't know if the next back-to-back they have, if now Anthony Black will start over Tyus Jones, but would love to see that. He's definitely the higher upside dynasty player than Tyus Jones, and we haven't really got to see a ton of opportunity for him, or maybe a decent amount of opportunity for him, but not see him in a starting role through his first couple of years in the league. So hopefully he'll get that opportunity a little bit more. The Hawks played the Thunder and lost in Atlanta. The Hawks were down Jalen Johnson, Zachary Richache, and Onyeka Okongwu. For the Thunder, we'll start with them because they're first on this box score list. Chet Holmgren was insane. 31 points in 27 minutes to go with 11 boards, an assist, 3 steals, a block, and 6 3-pointers. Did that while SGA still had 30 points. Both those guys played incredibly well. Chet is an absolute stud if you didn't already know that. Ajay Mitchell, 14.7 boards, 7 assists, 2 steals, and 2 3-pointers. He's doing this with no Jalen Williams, Alex Caruso, Nikola Topic. I think that was it for this game because Casey Wallace was back. But he's been awesome to start the season, and it's difficult to imagine Mark Daigneault being able to just say, yeah, we're not giving you minutes anymore. So my conclusion to that is probably not many Topic minutes. Maybe still some, but it's difficult to take the ball out of Ajay Mitchell's hands with the way he's been playing. Now, the fact that there is all this talent, maybe there is a shorter leash if he starts to not play as well. But yes, guys like Brooks Barnhizer, Chris Youngblood, they're probably getting bumped out of the rotation entirely, that's to be expected. I don't think anybody's relying on them for fantasy production, and they're both just just new to the NBA. They're rookies. That's new to the NBA. So there still will be minutes, I assume, for Topic, but not quite as many, and it could just be a hot hand situation. But Ajay Mitchell's dynasty stock it has to be rising. He's playing too well for it to not, and this doesn't feel like it's just a hot stretch. For the Hawks, Mo Gueye started in place of Jalen Johnson. 11.6 boards, 2 assists, 2 blocks, and 2 threes in 23 minutes. Still, this was the weird thing last year too, where when he started, he still wasn't playing typical starters minutes, but he was playing really well. So even if the Hawks refuse to play him 30 plus minutes, and when everyone's healthy, he shouldn't be playing that much. He should be part of the rotation though. He's worth stashing in Dynasty. Plenty of upside here, especially in a really truly deep Dynasty, like a 30-team one, or just a 12-team one with really deep rosters. You want to be holding on to him. He's got a lot of talent. Let's see the next one we've got. Hornets 76ers, I believe. Yeah, Sixers beat them by 4. Brandon Miller got hurt in this game, missed Sunday's game with the shoulder injury. LaMelo Ball, 27-10, 8-3-1, 4 threes. We know he plays well when he's healthy. Colin Sexton got the start over Con Knippel, 21-2-7-1 with 3 threes. If Sexton's starting, that definitely improves his value this season and helps his dynasty value. We'll see this in the next game, but Con did move back in the starting lineup in place of Brandon Miller, though. So Sexton was able to remain in the starting lineup, which was good to see because he can be productive when he gets the opportunity. A nice score for Charlotte. For the 76ers, Joel Embiid was really, really not good in that first game that he played. But still on a minutes restriction, but scored 20 points, had 2 boards, 4 assists, 2 steals, and 3 threes. Tyrese Maxey still playing really well. Good to see that. Quentin Grimes off the bench, 24 points, 5 threes. So even though he's not in a starting role, we're seeing him be productive in a reserve role, which is good for his dynasty value. Yeah, he's really, really talented. He's not just going to stand in the corner, I guess, which was kind of the thing that was said at the end of last season when this team's healthy. What's his role going to be? Well, obviously, Paul George still isn't healthy, and Jaron McCain. But I think Quentin Grimes is still going to play a significant reserve role even when this team is healthy. But maybe not scoring this much quite as often. Definitely still a player that is very talented. 2 more games to talk about. The Grizzlies blew out the Pacers. Not a ton of conclusions from this game other than, Benedict Mathurin got hurt. So it was he was playing well before that. Pacers just keep suffering injuries at guard, and we'll talk about another game from them here in a bit. But rough game from Jarace Walker. He was pretty good in the season opener. Hasn't been good the last 2 games, but it's getting the opportunity. We'll see this more in the next game, but Indiana's trying to figure out somebody at center, and it's not working. They started James Wiseman in this one. He wasn't very good. Isaiah Jackson and Jay Huff both played roles off the bench. Neither of them was very productive. Tony Bradley played some minutes off the bench. None of them were good in this game. Memphis blew them out. And the highlight here is the 2 rookies, again, which we will talk about during the rookie episode. But good additions there for Memphis this summer. And the last game from Saturday night was the Nuggets beating the Suns by a good bit, by 22. Ryan Dunn and Oso Guidara, the two 2024 class rookies, sophomores now, for the Suns. Both of them are starting again, but they're not playing great, not necessarily playing starters minutes either. Ryan Dunn did have 2 blocks in this one and a 3, which was cool. And then for the Nuggets, Christian Brown, nice bounce back game after struggling in the season opener. Jokic, 14, 14, and 15. That's just insane stuff that only he's going to do. All right, moving on to the Sunday games. And we had, I believe, 9 of them, starting with Spurs and Nets. This is the Cam Thomas 40 ball with no assists. The dude can score. Nobody's questioning that. It's better to see him get some assists in there as well, but just for his long-term fantasy value. So I guess that's kind of the concern is, does his game translate to winning basketball to the point where a team will continue to give him this type of role when they're not just rebuilding? And when he does get that role, what can he give besides points? And so this game, even though he had 40, that part's good. The 0 assists was bad. The last game where he had 33 and 9 assists, I kind of like that a little bit better. Only 7-point difference, an extra 9 assists. The Spurs, we'll just keep an eye on Victor Wembanyama. We'll just have to call out his stats every time. 31, 14, 4, 3, and 6 with 3 threes. 10 of 15 from the free throw line. 9 of 21, he had shot the ball really, really well prior to this. So this was a little bit of a rough, quote-unquote game. Just your casual 31, 14, 4, 3, 6 on an off night. Stephon Castle didn't have 10 turnovers, but he did have 5. Keldon Johnson, nice offensive game. We know he can score. No Luke Cornett in this one. Kelly Olynyk's still out, so we got some Bismack Biyombo minutes. Super fun. Super fun. We always love those. For Boston against Detroit, Boston's now 0-3. They lost 119-113 to the Pistons. Hugo Gonzalez started, only played 18 minutes, 2 steals and a block and a rebound. Not a great first start for him, but cool to see him getting the starting opportunity during his rookie season. And then Josh Minot off the bench, 10-1-1-3 with a 3-pointer. Good to see him do that after not getting any minutes the game before. For Detroit, monster game from Jalen Duren, 24 and 18, 12 of 13 at the free throw line, 2 blocks. Love to see that. Sar Thompson, 21, 12, 3 and 2, 7 of 8 from the free throw line. Don't expect that to happen often, but love to see that it's possible. Next game we've got, let's see, it was the Bucks and the Cavs. Yeah, Cavs beat Milwaukee by 5. Giannis, 40, 14, 9, 2, 2, 3. Giannis. Ryan Rollins started again, 14, 4, 8, and 3. Cole Anthony didn't play in this one. Good to see Ryan Rollins have 2 back-to-back solid starts, knowing that he's capable of doing that. So Kevin Porter Jr., I'm assuming, isn't going to be out much longer, but Ryan Rollins is capable of producing. That's good for redraft leagues. It's also good for dynasty leagues, depending on what happens with the Bucks point guard situation this summer. Or, a Giannis trade is never not going to be rumored. So if Giannis is moved, depending on who else comes back or who else is moved, we know Ryan Rollins can be productive. For the Cavs, DeAndre Hunter was back. Craig Porter Jr. didn't do all that much, like 5, 3, 1, and 3 off the bench in 60 minutes. That was cool. Jalen Tyson, 15 minutes off the bench with Hunter back. So not going to play. Like, he'll still have a role. Not one that's conducive to fantasy value, but should still get an opportunity this season, at least until they get even healthier. Sam Merrill continues to be a good source of threes with Darius Garland out. Evan Mobley, 23, 8, 6, 3, and 2. Nice little well-rounded stat line there. 12 of 12 from the free throw line for Evan Mobley. That's huge to see. The Hornets, well, we'll briefly look at the Heat Knicks game, actually. Not too many Dynasty takeaways here. The Knicks, we kind of know their rotation. Miami, Khalil Ware, and Nikola Jovic, like both of them kind of struggled in this game. So still keeping an eye on that, but not too much. I mean, Jaime Jaquez, 17, 5, and 5. I guess that's good too. Good to see him get off to a strong start to this season. But the Hornets Wizards game, Hornets win 139-113. Colin Sexton, another 20-point game. LaMelo Ball, 38, 13, 13, 3 with 5 threes. Monster game from him. And then Moussa Diabate, 12 and 10 with an assist and 2 blocks off the bench. Ended up playing about 50 seconds more than Ryan Kalkbrenner, so pretty close to a minute split with 3 Mason Plumlee minutes mixed in there as well. Wasn't a great game from Kalkbrenner, but it's going to be those two playing about the same amount of minutes, with Kalkbrenner probably continuing to start. But good to see that there is enough minutes for both of them. And then for Washington, there was more of a rough Keyshawn George game. Fouled out, had 6, 8, and 5. Didn't shoot the ball quite as well. Alex Sarr had a nice game, 21, 4, and 5 with 3 blocks and a 3. But yeah, I mean, Keyshawn George we wanted to see him be able to build off that first really good performance, but he wasn't able to. But good to see Alex Sarr playing well. Just more hope for the future in Washington. Pacers lost to the Timberwolves. They just can't stay healthy. Jay Huff and Isaiah Jackson started in this game. Neither of them did that much and only played around 15 minutes. James Wiseman didn't see the floor at all. Tony Bradley, finally, a center, played pretty decent. 25 minutes, 12 points, 5 rebounds, and assists, a steal, a block. Could he start next game? Maybe. Obi Toppin left early with an injury. Ray J. Dennis. I mean, they just don't have many guard options here. Outside of Nesmith, Ben Shepherd, and Dennis, who that's the good thing to see here. 12 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks, 2 threes. Until they get another guard back, he's going to be playing big minutes, and he's been able to dish out some dimes. So good to see him take advantage of that opportunity for a team that just is not healthy. In Minnesota, Anthony Edwards left early with I forgot what injury. Let me find, as I'm saying that. Which, I mean, allowed more minutes for just kind of everyone got a little bit extra. Like Terrence Shannon didn't play as many as we were necessarily expecting, but they were able to slide Dante DiVincenzo into more of a shooting guard role, which gave opportunities for Bones Highland, Mike Conley, Jalen Clark to play. This is let's see if we can. Okay, so this is, as I'm recording this, Anthony Edwards is expected to miss 2 weeks, or at least 2 weeks. Hamstring is not one you want to toy around with, so it could be longer than 2 weeks. Let's see what the Shams Charania's tweet just says will miss 2 weeks, so could be more. I would assume it's at least 2 weeks, but he's saying exactly 2. Don't necessarily think that's going to end up holding true. So would think Terrence Shannon gets more of an opportunity, but he really didn't in this game. Bones Highland, Mike Conley, Jalen Clark, guys you don't necessarily want to stream in. Let me see if I can. Yeah, and that's short-term takeaways, not long-term, which is what we're going to be focusing on or trying to focus on for this episode. Okay. Next game we've got to talk about. Raptors, Mavericks. Dallas gets their first win of the season. Big game from Scotty Barnes, 33-11, 6-1 with 3 threes. That's good to see. Bunch of solid games in Toronto for fantasy. And then in Dallas, D'Angelo Russell had a nice game. Not too many Dynasty takeaways there. The main frustration is that Derek Lively, only 21 minutes, 4 points, 7 boards, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. Like in those minutes, he's not scoring a ton, but he's able to give you 7 rebounds, 4 assists, and 3 blocks. That's good stuff. He's a good passer for a center. And I think that Derek Lively is more dynamic than he gets credit for. But as far as his scoring options, he was at his best when he had Luka or Kyrie out there. And as good as Cooper Flag can be, he's not the playmaker that those other guys are. So hopefully we'll get to see Lively either play more minutes or get some better looks for him, because this start to the season has not been what we really want to see. Also a nice game from Max Christie, 17, 2, 2, and 1 with 3 3-pointers. Moving on to Portland losing to the Clippers by 7. Nice game from Denny Avdia again. Shaedon Sharpe, another subpar shooting night, which is kind of what we've gotten from him to start the season. So far this year, he's shooting 28.8% from the floor. Through 3 games, his best shooting night was in the win over the Warriors, where he shot 5 of 15. He's also shot 5 of 20, and then this game he shot 7 of 24. So really talented offensively, but has not been able to get things going early on. And then for the Clippers, bunch of old guys. Nice games for James Harden, Kawhi Leonard, Ivica Zubac, John Collins, but not too many Dynasty takeaways here because they don't like playing basketball players that aren't at least 30 years old. I think that's probably an exaggeration, but John Collins has to be the youngest player. Maybe it's Zubac. Now I got to pull up ages. I'm getting distracted during the podcast, but I'm doing it. Zubac is 28. John Collins is 28 and is younger by about 6 months. Derek Jones Jr., also 28, but he's older than Zubac by a month. Chris Dunn he's a year older, right? Oh, he's 31. Yeah, he's a good bit older. Okay. So John Collins is the youthful presence in this Clippers rotation. So we don't care that much for Dynasty. We care, but one game or one opportunity, like this, the lineup's pretty set. Breakout games aren't necessarily going to excite us. Last game to talk about is the Austin Reaves Masterclass, 51, 11 and 9, 2 steals, 6 threes, 21 of 22 free throws, when he had talked about learning how to get to the free throw line by studying other people that were able to. It's working. Also DeAndre Ayton, 22 and 15. That's good. The early start to the season was not good, but able to see him play pretty well, which is really good. We'll see if he can keep it up, because even if I'm still not a believer in him being the championship caliber center that the Lakers need. That doesn't necessarily mean all-star caliber, just like who can fill that role. It's good to see him play well. Jake LaRavia, 11, 6, 5, and 1, 2 threes. Subpar shooting night, but still halfway decent. Zach LaVine, as I said this earlier, I think he's, if I'm not mistaken, I'm going to double check this, has 30 points on at least 50% shooting in all 3 games this year. That is true. He's averaging 31 points and shooting 53% from the floor. Really hot start for him. Dennis Schroeder had 12 assists. That was cool. Malik Monk and Russell Westbrook scoring off the bench. Keon Ellis started, fouled out, played 18 minutes. Devin Carter played 3 minutes off the bench. So the players, most of the Dynasty upside guys, not great. Sabonis is healthy and playing, so that's good too, but he hasn't been dominant yet. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Young Man Squad Fantasy Basketball Podcast. If you like or hate this format, tell me kindly, and we can adjust it. But I figured this is a good way to talk about everything. But we will try the new format on Friday and see if I like it better. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Young Man Squad Fantasy Basketball Podcast, which is part of the Old Man Squad Sports Network, part of the Believe Network, and presented to you by our partners at FanDuel. And I will see you guys tomorrow.